Welcome to apograph.com. Thank you for watching our second video. Today we're going to talk to you about Microsoft's Azure Site Recovery, or ASR for short. So what is ASR? Well, ASR is Microsoft Azure's disaster recovery as a service offering from its Azure product that provides full site disaster recovery for incidents such as fire, theft or flood. So how does ASR work? Well, ASR replicates in near real time the contents of all of your core server workloads, for instance, Active Directory, SQL Server, Navision, Sage accounts, or any other such systems to the Azure Data Center system. In the event of a disaster, we can replay and connect to your servers in real time, but located in the Microsoft Azure Data Center. This offers brilliant recovery point objectives for most disaster recovery situations. Our colleague Daniel is now going to show you how this works.
Okay, in this demo I'm going to demonstrate how to use Azure Site Recovery to protect your on-premise virtual machines in case of a disaster. So a few things to start with before I go ahead with the demo. I've already prepped my on-premise infrastructure by installing the Azure Site Recovery provider onto the Hyper-V host, and I've already installed the Windows Azure Virtual Machine Agent onto my on-premise virtual machines, which allows those machines to run within the Azure platform. So now that's all done, let's get started. If I go into my Recovery Services Vault, I've already created a vault ready for this, and I've also already set up my Azure network as well. So when my Hyper-V virtual machines fail over to Azure, they have networking. So if I go into the Recovery Vault, we want to start the replication process off. So how do we do this? First, we need to select what machines we want to protect. So let's go into replicated items. You can see here I've already got a machine already being protected by Azure, but to add additional machines into this, we need to go to replicate. And these Azure blades will take us through the rest of the process. So our source is on-premise. Are we performing a migration? No, we are not. If we were doing a lift and shift from on-premise to Azure, we would select yes, but we're not. So we're going to select no, because we're purely using this for failover and disaster recovery. And the source location is preset to the Apograph head office. Let's click OK. In step 2 are all my target settings. So my Azure subscription, my resource group, where Azure will put all my Azure resources like virtual machines and VNet networking. And I've got a chance to create a Azure network, which I've already set up. So when my machines fail over to Azure, they'll have networking capabilities. Let's press OK on that one. These are the two servers we have at our office, which are not yet being protected via Azure Site Recovery. So we can either select both of them or either or, depending on our needs. Let's go to OK on that one. Now they've been selected. In step 4, we need to configure the properties of each virtual machine. So the operating system type for both of these machines is Windows. And I need to tell Azure which disk is the operating system disk on both servers, so it boots OK. Any other disks separately should appear in the other disks to replicate option. Let's press OK on that. I've already got a pre-made replication policy set up, quite a basic policy really for testing purposes. For this demo, it just replicates any changes from on-prem to Azure every 5 minutes, which is fine. Let's go OK. Okay, so we've got green ticks across the board. Looks like we're ready to enable replication. And we see here in the top right, the process has now started. So this looks like it's running through fine. It's going to run through all these checks. Depending on the size of your virtual machines, this might take a little while to first kick off. So what we're going to do to save waiting around is find out how we test this process. So if I go back to my virtual machines and then into Azure Site Recovery, you can see from earlier, I already have a virtual machine already protected by Azure. So how do I test this just to make sure it is working okay? Let's give that a go. If I go into the protected virtual machine, in here I have a few options. I can do a planned or normal failover. What this will do is it will replicate any changes if it can. It will then shut down that virtual machine and bring it over to Azure. But we want to keep the virtual machine on-premise live because it's purely a test. So for that, we need to go to Test Failover. We can select our last recovery point, the Azure network, so the machine has network capabilities, and press OK. And now let's start that process off. Okay, so this is now going to replicate that machine to Azure and bring it up as a Azure virtual machine. This can take around 5-10 minutes. So I'm going to pause the video now and okay, we are back. Azure has finished the test replication for me. It has completed the checks. It has started the process of failover. It has created the Azure virtual machine, and it has booted the virtual machine with green ticks across the board. So let's go and take a look at the virtual machine now. If I go into virtual machines, we can see this is my on-prem virtual machine now running in Azure. It's got the -test name there just so I know that it's running in a test failover state. If I go into the virtual machine, I can do some checks to make sure it's okay. We have a heartbeat on the CPU, the networking and the disk, which is good. A couple more bits I like to do as well when I'm doing this procedure. If I go into networking, I make sure the correct NIC has been assigned to the virtual machine with all the correct inbound ports. We are using port 3389 to get into the machine to test it. Not ideal for a live environment, but for testing, perfectly fine. And if I go into disks, I can make sure that the correct OS disk and data disk has been assigned. I can also, at the bottom, go into boot diagnostics to get a screen capture of what the server's doing, and it looks okay. So we are ready to now log into the machine to test it out. Let's go to Overview and Connect, and it will download as a nice little remote desktop profile. That's been saved, so let's log into the machine and take a look. I've been asked for credentials, which is good. I'll just log in. I'm straight in. That's always a good sign. So a few checks I need to do on this server to make sure the Azure replication is working okay. I need to make sure the data disk has been assigned to the machine, which it has, with all my data present and correct. And as this is a domain controller, I need to make sure that AD or Active Directory is open and okay. That looks perfectly fine. We can get into AD perfectly fine. So at this point, I'm quite happy. The test failover process is okay. I can now clean up the process. So everything's okay with the failover. The testing has gone okay. I can now stop the virtual machine, deallocate it, and go back to replicating the on-prem server. So last bit to do is to go back into my recovery services vault, go into the vault, go into the replicated items. We can see here my server is asking for the cleanup of the test failover to start. So if I go into that machine, hit the cleanup test failover. I can make some notes for auditing purposes to make sure everything's working okay, so I've got something to look back on. And when the test is complete, Azure will delete the virtual machine for me, so I'm not paying for resources I don't need. Okay, that will now go away. It will delete the virtual machine and re-enable the replication. And that's it for Azure replication. Any questions, please just